Born and raised a Catholic Christian, and I just would start by, well, let me just a little bit of background. What I currently do is I am a financial coach. The Lost Millionaire movement is a movement focused on providing financial education to people, especially middle-income families across the United States and Canada, with the idea that an education, when we know better, that we can do better to help people have less anxiety, less worry when it comes to money, understanding that that the knowledge can be freedom. So that's what that movement is. But my work full time is in educating people on personal finance and then helping people get where they want to go and be good stewards of the blessings that God has given them. But I didn't start there. I remember when I was in high school, I was having a conversation with my dad about college and what should I study and where should I go to college. And in my high school years, excuse me, I was blessed to have a really vibrant youth community at my church that I was a part of. Loved it. I learned so much, and I was excited to study theology in college. My dad, while supportive of that, also said, well, Patrick, you don't have to work actually in ministry to minister to other people. You don't have to work in ministry to evangelize. But 16-year-old Patrick knew far better than my dad. And so I went to college and studied theology with the goal of becoming a teacher, a professor, which didn't happen. I ended up being a youth minister, which that was totally a part of God's plan. Met my wife there. Very blessed. We've been married for 6 years, almost 6 years this fall. But so how did I go from being working for the church directly in ministry to working in potentially the most secular field that I could, the field of money, right? And so really it was a journey of value that we received, and then of necessity. We were helped by somebody very much in the financial space. They taught us a lot, helped us to get our finances on track, and to learn to be disciplined and responsible with our money. Whereas before we weren't necessarily. And I think that that discipline and that responsibility, being a good steward, does bring glory to God. And so anyways, long story short, I started to move into the financial space on a part-time basis. And after watching that video, I just want to share one quick story of working as somebody that's self-employed, working as somebody that, or even just that burden of providing, I think, that we feel for our families, right, as Christians. And there have been multiple times, but one time in particular where I was just very discouraged. People weren't calling me back. Meetings were getting canceled. Wonderful game plans that we had put together for families and spent hours working on just ended up, not being put into action and not being put into place. And so income wasn't coming in. We're getting to the last, week or so of the month, and it's like, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay the bills? I remember my wife said two things to me. She said, Patrick, God doesn't bring you someplace to fail. He might bring you someplace to teach you a lesson, but not to fail. And he also said, he's not going to leave you here, right? You're going to go through hard times, but he's not going to leave you here. And that journey of experiencing anxiety and worry and just learning that it's the success and the results are not up to me. I can't control that. And that I just needed to trust him and give my best, to work my best, because I believe that excellence in work, which the video stated, glorifies God. Being our best glorifies God. Giving our best effort glorifies God. And in this industry where I'm working with families, I do see that it's an opportunity to restore hope in people's lives in a world where making ends meet is hard and stressful, and easy to forget to give. It's easy to forget to give back to God. And I want to share another story. There's a gentleman, and he and his family had been saving up for a big family vacation for several years, and they had saved $10,000. He had 5 children. So that was a big feat, saving up $10,000 in cash. And they were planning that vacation in the coming year. And one evening after dinner, their neighbors came over and knocked on their door, just totally distraught, in tears even, and in financial hardship. And they shared that and said, we don't know what we're going to do. We're going to lose the house. We're going to, have to declare bankruptcy. We don't know how we're going to put food on the table for our kids. And the dad of the family, who had been saving up for vacation, went upstairs, talked to his wife, and came downstairs with a check written out for $10,000 and handed it to his neighbor. that story that struck me so much, because what happens next is just it's just so beautiful, right? The man, totally selfless, um, just giving without a hesitation, without a doubt, made such an impact on me, because just that selflessness. But then the next month, he received a $10,000 bonus from his work, out of the blue, right? And so it's just amazing that God will not ever be outdone in generosity. That's been a huge lesson for me. And not just that he won't be outdone in generosity, but I also believe that he will not be outdone in generosity, in the sense of the effort that we put into our to my work, into our work, the excellence that I put in. Um, to be able to sit with the family, and one of the things that I do when I'm putting together a financial game plan is, one of the pieces is an expenses worksheet or a budget worksheet, and there's a section on there for giving. Okay, so tithing, right? Giving. And it's so funny, because even time after time, I sit with all sorts of families, religious, non-religious, Christians, non-Christians, and yet, and without fail, if they've not been giving, uh, there is always this moment when they're looking at that sheet and we're going through, and they're like, oh, we really need to start giving. We really need to start giving somewhere. And so it's fun just to be able to have that conversation of, hey, all the money's God's. He's blessed us with it. How can we then in turn bless others with that? And I think it's just simple ways like that of stewardship, of restoring hope to people, and then of always keeping the mindset of if we can help others to build, um, through my business, help them to build generational wealth, but not just generational wealth, but generational impact through the way that they're able to give, and be generous with others. So those are just a couple stories that I've experienced in the last couple of years that I've been super impactful to me, just ways that we can bring light into families' lives when we walk into their households, and just be that. It's an accountability for me. It's an accountability for me to always to realize, like, hey, this is bigger than you, Patrick. This is bigger than this family's finances. This is about bringing glory to God, and bringing souls back to him as well.